Well, good evening and welcome to Eastleigh Borough Council's Administration Committee meeting of the 12th of October 2020, broadcast by Microsoft Teams. So this evening we have a special meeting which will look at a community governance review for the unparished parts of the borough. The committee members who were invited this evening are that motley crew that are shown on the screen in front of you already. We have apologies this evening from the chair, which is why my voice doesn't sound like Councillor Daniel Clark, because I'm Councillor Keith House. So I'm chairing this meeting in the absence of Daniel, who has work commitments this evening. We wish him well with that. We also have a mix of staff available to support our every need during the course of this evening's meeting, and they'll come in as they need to, if they need to, during the course of tonight's meeting. So we kick off with apologies, which we already have from Councillor Clark. I've got no notice of other apologies. I believe everyone else is now here present in the meeting room, so welcome everyone to this evening's meeting. Does anyone have any declarations of interest they want to raise for tonight's meeting? Everyone's shaking their head, so I'm going to take that as a no. Thank you very much, colleagues. We then move to the minutes of the last meeting of this committee, which was held quite some time ago, back on the 21st of October 2019, so we're almost up to the anniversary of that meeting. Now, I wasn't at that meeting, neither was Councillor Couldry, so I'm asking other colleagues who were there, do you think these minutes are an accurate record of that meeting? I'm seeing Sarah nodding, I'm seeing yes, Margaret nodding, Tim nodding. I think we've got nodding donkeys everywhere, so thank you very much everyone for that. We'll take those minutes as agreed. Those of you who astutely did look at the minutes, you'll see that the committee was due to meet on the 25th of November 2019, and you might be wondering why there are no minutes of that meeting. Equally, if you looked at the council's calendar of meetings, you'll see this committee was also due to meet in February of 2020, and you might be wondering where those minutes are. Well, the answer is the meetings weren't held because there was no business, and so the meetings were cancelled. This is a committee where we schedule meetings but frequently cancel them on the basis that they are set up on the basis that there might be business, but because the business of this committee is fairly limited around some elements of electoral arrangements and licensing, it rarely needs to meet. And that's good because it means that our local area committees are taking most of the decisions that matter in these areas, and that's helpful too. So we can move to agenda item 5 then, which is the community governance review. The paper has been circulated, which has been authored by Dickon Bright. Dickon is here to answer any questions, if there are any, from members present this evening. I'm going to take it as read around the table because the issues are fairly straightforward, but does anyone wish to make any questions?
I have a couple of questions, if I may, Chair.
You can, Margaret, go first if you so wish. You've jumped just ahead of Lou there, which is fine.
Sorry, Lou. Don't worry. I'll be brief. You'll be glad to know. I just wanted to know, this area is predominantly within ELAC, although it does sort of cross a bit. I just wanted to make sure that ELAC borders are not going to change as part of this review. It is just a review for whether to have parishes within the borders as described in the paper. That was my first question. And the second question was, do we know yet what the costs of the consultation are likely to be and how they would be funded? Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. So just for anyone who's watching this meeting and doesn't know what ELAC is all about, ELAC is the Eastleigh Local Area Committee. And I can confirm that the entirety of this community governance review is within the boundaries of the Eastleigh Local Area Committee. The unparished part of the borough is now a subset of the Eastleigh Local Area Committee. The Eastleigh Local Area Committee has a part of the parish of Chalmers Ford in it and the entirety of the parish of Albrook within it. So this is the area around Boyett Wood and the core of Old Eastleigh Town, you could put it like that, that goes right the way down to the motorway junction. So far as the cost of the review are concerned, well, my understanding from the paper is that the cost will be contained within the existing budgets that are held for these sort of issues. We're not proposing to do a poll as such. This will be a consultation as set out in the paper. So fairly modest costs, and we'll be using things like Borough News to support that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, Lou indicated before that she had some questions, so we go to Councillor Lou Parker-Jones next.
Thank you. It's only a couple really. One of them was about ELAC and how the Eastleigh Local Area Committee actually felt about these assets being removed from its control and put to potentially to a new town council. The other couple of areas that I wanted to ask about was under the environmental climate change implications, it's stated that a parish council would have greater control over management of some aspects of the environment, e.g. open space and play areas. And that confused me, because does that mean Eastleigh Borough Council currently has no control over its own open space and its own play areas? Is that what we're saying? Because I would be worried about that. And there was something else. The finance and the costing of it, because apart from Chandler's-Ford, and I have to give them lots of credit, they've managed to keep their parish precept quite low, because in terms of the totality of council tax, Chandler's-Ford is the lowest, just before Eastleigh, whereas you'll see that most other areas which have parishes, the amount significantly begins to creep up and increase. So how do we reconcile any potential increase in costs, and are Eastleigh residents going to be informed that that is a potential thing that could happen? Are they going to be told about where they sit in the council tax bracket now and what the implications might be for the future? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much, Lou. I think I can pick up each of those three. Let's deal with the wording on the climate change paragraph. I think perhaps the word greater probably shouldn't have been in there, because the parish council would have exactly the same control that Eastleigh Borough Council would have. So well spotted. There was a superfluous greater in paragraph 29 of the report. On the cost issue, of course, it will be up to the parish council what level of precept they choose to run. That's what subsidiarity is all about. And if we look around the borough, we'll see a wide variety of different parish precepts in different places. I know that there was some interesting considerations when Albrook Parish Council was set up, because I believe the precept actually went down as a result of the parish council being created. What would change, I suspect, over time, and we're already seeing this with Chandler's-Ford, is that some things which are currently declared as special expenses would move to the parish council from the borough council. Special expenses are those functions that the borough council provides in a parish area where the parish has chosen not to provide them itself, and it's an equalising measure to make sure that there's no double taxation by people being charged across the borough for services that a parish council in one area has opted out of. So I would imagine, in the event of parts of or all of the non-parished area being parished, then the special expenses figure would gradually wind down from the figure of £78.45 that's in the report to a smaller number. Whether it ever reaches zero or not, well, none of them have across the borough so far, but if you look at the pattern of other figures, you would expect that probably to go down to something like £20 over the course of time, and that to be replaced by a parish precept. The parish precept, of course, would then be determined by the parish council, and it could be up, it could be down, depending upon the wishes of that parish. And yes, of course, you're right to point out the consultation paper, consultation details will have to pick up an understanding of financial issues on the basis that could happen. Your first question, Lou, was about whether ELAC were happy with all this. Well, the original motion that went to council was proposed by Councillor Daniel Clark, who would normally be here chairing this meeting, and he, of course, is an ELAC councillor. And as I recall, at the meeting in February, the majority, if not everyone, certainly a very clear majority of Eastleigh Local Area Committee members voted for Daniel's motion. So I think we can take it as read that there's an awareness. Whether individual councillors in the Eastleigh Local Area Committee wish to respond to the consultation with personal views, of course they can do. Whether they want to get out on the streets campaigning for or against the parish council, the same thing applies along with everyone else. Now then, having picked up those questions from Councillor Parker-Jones, does anyone else have any issues they want to raise on this paper? I'm not seeing anyone indicating at the moment. So the recommendations are fairly straightforward. I'll just read them out for clarity. It's recommended that the council undertakes a community governance review in relation to the unparished area of Eastleigh Borough, including consulting residents and local stakeholders, and the terms of reference of the community governance review are agreed as set out in the report, and the local community consulted on that basis. I think from the debate we don't need a formal vote on that, but if I can just ask everyone to turn their microphones on and say if they're in agreement with those recommendations.
Agree.
Agree.
And does anyone disagree? No, I think there might have been a plane flying overhead somewhere, but other than the plane disagreeing, I think we've got unanimity on that one. So thank you very much, colleagues. I've got no notice of any other business. This committee will meet again in January, if not before, for any other reasons. There is one scheduled for the 9th of November. I'm not sure if that'll happen or not, but you'll no doubt be told as we get closer to that date for other business. Otherwise, thank you very much for your attendance, and I'll close this meeting at 18:26. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.